You think being a samurai means being born with a silver spoon and a cool sword? Think again. From the moment you take your first breath, you are not a child. You are a piece of property owned by your clan. Your training doesn't start with philosophy, it starts with trauma. By age 5, you are given a wooden sword and beaten until you learn to suppress your tears. Empathy is a weakness, and your teachers are there to beat it out of you. Your diet is strictly controlled to stunt your growth. A smaller target is harder to hit, but it also means you are constantly hungry. In the winter, you are forced to walk barefoot in the snow or sit under freezing waterfalls to harden your spirit. But the worst part is the psychological cage. You are taught that your life does not belong to you. If you accidentally insult a superior or show fear, your own father has the legal right and the duty to execute you to save the family name. You grow up watching public executions, desensitized to gore before you can even read. You aren't a human being. You are a weapon being forged in a fire of abuse and starvation. Hollywood shows you wise mentors. History shows you sadists who turn children into sociopaths. Congratulations, you are now 15. It's time for your Genpuku ceremony, coming of age. The first thing they do is disfigure you. You must shave the top of your head to wear the chonmage, top knot. But there are no safety razors or soothing creams here. Your scalp is scraped with a dull bronze or steel knife using only cold water. The result? Your head is constantly covered in razor burn, ingrown hairs, and weeping sores. And let's talk about the smell. You don't wash your hair every day. It's an elaborate process using wax and oil, binsuke, to keep the shape. This oil catches dust, sweat, and blood. In the humid Japanese summer, your head is a breeding ground for lice. When you wear your helmet, kabuto, for weeks during a campaign, the heat and sweat trapped inside cause fungal infections that make your scalp rot. Samurai were known to carry small ivory sticks just to scratch the lice itching underneath their complex hairdos without ruining the style. You look noble from a distance, but up close, you smell like rancid oil, old sweat, and fungal infection. You are a high-ranking warrior, so you eat well, right? Wrong. Your diet is actually killing you. While peasants eat brown rice and vegetables, you, as a status symbol, eat polished white rice. You don't know it yet, but this strips away vitamin B1. This leads to a horrific condition called beriberi, or Ito sickness. Your legs swell up like balloons, you lose feeling in your fingers, you become lethargic, and eventually your heart fails. But wait, it gets worse. You don't eat meat, it's largely banned by Buddhism, so you rely on fish and vegetables. The problem is fertilizer. Japanese agriculture uses night soil, human feces, to fertilize crops. Because the food isn't always boiled perfectly, almost every single samurai is infested with tapeworms and roundworms. You are literally sharing your body with parasites that grow up to 30 feet long inside your intestines. You are constantly exhausted, pale, and suffering from diarrhea, all while trying to look like a stoic warrior. The legendary warriors you see in movies were likely fighting the urge to vomit while battling the enemy. Movies tell you the katana is the soul of the samurai. In reality, it was often just a backup weapon, like a pistol. On the battlefield, you used a spear, yari, or a bow, yumi. The sword was for when things went wrong. But how do you know if your new sword is sharp? You can't just cut bamboo. You need flesh and bone. Enter Tsujigiri, literally, crossroads killing. In the darker periods of history, if a samurai bought a new blade, he had the legal right to test it on a commoner. You would stand at a crossroads at night, wait for a homeless man or a peasant to walk by, and strike. If you cut him in half with one blow, the sword was good. If not, you complained to the blacksmith. This wasn't a duel. It was murder sanctioned by the state. You aren't protecting the innocent. You are the predator they fear. The peasants bow to you not out of respect, but out of the terror that you might decide to test your blade on their neck because you're having a bad day. War is not a choreographed duel. It is a chaotic, screaming mob. And your main goal isn't victory or honor. It is getting paid. To get paid, you need proof of kills. You need heads. Samurai warfare was a gruesome head-hunting competition. When you kill an enemy, you don't just leave him. You have to saw off his head while the battle rages around you. But it gets grosser. After the battle, you can't just throw a bloody head at your lord. You have to participate in the head viewing ceremony. You have to wash the severed head, comb its hair, and apply makeup to it, blackening the teeth, to make it look presentable. You are essentially a beautician for rotting corpses. You carry these heads in net bags tied to your waist. Imagine marching for days with 3 rotting fly-covered human heads bumping against your leg, the smell of death clinging to your clothes. This is your glory. You believe in Bushido, the way of the warrior, loyalty to the death? That is largely a myth invented much later, in the peaceful Edo period, to keep soldiers in line. During the actual Age of War, Sengoku Jidai, loyalty was a joke. This was the era of Gekkokujo, the low overcoming the high. Samurai betrayed their lords constantly. If the enemy general offered you more rice and gold, you switched sides in the middle of the battle. You were a mercenary, not a saint. Spying, assassination, and poisoning were standard tactics. The honorable samurai didn't exist. The survivors existed. You would stab your best friend in the back if it meant securing a promotion or a slightly bigger plot of land. The romanticized code of honor was propaganda created to stop you from killing your boss once the wars ended. What happens if your lord loses a war or his money? You don't get a severance package. You become a ronin. In movies, ronin are cool, wandering badasses. In reality, being a ronin was a death sentence. You are forbidden from becoming a farmer or a merchant because of your class, but you have no income. You become homeless. You wander the countryside, starving, your clothes turning to rags, your fancy sword rusting. Many ronin turned to banditry, robbing the very peasants they used to oppress. Others became bodyguards for criminals. The lowest point? Selling your sword. The blade that is supposed to be your soul is sold for a bag of rice, so you don't die of starvation. You are a social outcast, mocked by employed samurai, and hated by commoners. The freedom of the ronin is actually the freedom to die in a ditch, forgotten by everyone. If you think being a male samurai was hard, being a female into a samurai family was a nightmare. You are a political pawn. You are married off at a young age to seal an alliance between clans. You act as a hostage. If your father attacks your husband's clan, you are the first to be executed. And then there is jigai, the female version of ritual suicide. While men cut their bellies, women were taught to cut their jugular veins with a small dagger, kaiken. But the indoctrination ran so deep that their main concern wasn't death, but modesty. Young girls were taught to tie their knees together with a sash before killing themselves, so that when their body convulsed in death throes, their legs wouldn't spread open and expose them. Imagine a society where a teenage girl is more worried about dying in a polite pose than about dying itself. The ultimate samurai myth, seppuku, harakiri. You think it's a quick stab and it's over? No, it is designed to be excruciating torture. You take a short blade, plunge it into the left side of your abdomen, and slice across to the right. Then, you pull it out and slice upwards. You are literally disemboweling yourself. You are cutting through muscle, nerves, and intestines. Feces and blood spill into your lap, and you must do this without screaming. If you scream, you die in disgrace. The agony is blinding. Behind you stands the kaishakunin, a second, with a sword, ready to cut off your head to end the pain. But if your friend is bad at his job, he might hack at your neck 2 or 3 times while you sit there holding your own intestines. It's not a beautiful, poetic exit. It is a messy, horrific, vomit-inducing butchery, performed in front of an audience. All things must end. When the Meiji Restoration arrives in the late 19th century, the samurai aren't killed in a glorious final charge. Sorry, the last samurai lied to you. They are cancelled by bureaucracy. The emperor bans the wearing of swords. He cuts off your government stipend. Suddenly, you are useless. The peasants you bullied are now legally your equals. You have no skills other than killing, but killing is now illegal. You are forced to cut off your topknot, the symbol of your pride. Many samurai ended up working as door-to-door salesmen, policemen, or even circus performers to survive. The fierce warrior class didn't go out with a bang. They went out filing paperwork and begging for jobs, stripped of their weapons, their status, and their dignity. The legacy of the samurai isn't honor. It's a lesson in how the world uses you as a weapon and then throws you in the trash when you are broken.